In a calendar factory, a worker was adjusting paper threading through an industrial rolling machine when he positioned his hand too close to the rotating mechanism. The powerful rollers immediately grabbed his hand and pulled him into the machinery, spinning his entire body through the rollers like a washing machine. He suffered multiple broken bones throughout his body from the violent rotation and crushing. This incident clearly demonstrates the catastrophic entanglement hazards of paper processing equipment and the absolute necessity of proper lockout procedures before any adjustments. Roller nip points create inescapable entanglement zones that pull workers completely into machinery within seconds, rotating them through rollers, causing full body crushing, multiple fractures, and often fatal injuries. At an excavation site, an excavator's hydraulic boom arm experienced failure, and a worker climbed onto the side of the machine, attempting to reach and repair the malfunctioning hydraulics. As he positioned himself near the hydraulic system, the pressurized hydraulic lines suddenly burst, releasing high-pressure fluid or gas while the entire boom arm collapsed. This incident clearly demonstrates multiple critical violations, including inadequate lockout procedures, positioning in crush zones, and attempting repairs on energized hydraulic systems. Hydraulic systems contain extreme pressures that cause violent hose failures, cylinder ruptures, and uncontrolled movements, causing crushing deaths. At an exterior painting project, a worker was positioned atop a scaffold, while co-workers on the ground attempted to reposition him. As they moved the scaffold, it tilted forward beyond its stability point and completely tipped over, throwing the worker from the platform. He fell face first to the ground with paint spilling across the area. This incident clearly demonstrates the catastrophic dangers of moving scaffolding with workers still aboard and inadequate stability during mobile scaffold operations. Mobile scaffolds require locking casters engaged whenever workers are on platforms, and outriggers or stabilizers must deploy, providing adequate base width, preventing tip over. At a warehouse facility entrance, a truck loaded with workers was reversing through the gate with workers illegally riding atop the cargo in the open truck bed. The overhead clearance was low, and one worker failed to lower himself adequately. His upper back and shoulders struck the overhead structure, compressing his spine and upper body with tremendous force, nearly breaking his back. This incident clearly demonstrates multiple severe violations, including unauthorized riding on cargo, inadequate site planning, and failure to verify clearance heights before vehicle entry. Workers must never ride on top of cargo, truck beds, or loads during transport. Riding positions are limited to properly designed cab seats with restraints only. At a construction site, a worker was positioned inside the raised bucket of an excavator, using it as an improvised elevated work platform while laying bricks. Without warning, the excavator operator drove the machine forward, causing the occupied bucket and worker to ram through brick pillar structures that immediately collapsed from the impact. This incident clearly demonstrates multiple catastrophic violations, including using excavator buckets as work platforms, inadequate communication.
There's always the
and
old timer
improper
on the
masonry
job site that
construction.
says, I used to
Brick
work
pillars
from
collapsing
a
on
bucket all the
contact
time.
indicate severely
Why
deficient
do we need a
masonry
man
construction,
lift?
lacking proper mortar, reinforcement, or structural integrity.
This is the reason.
Properly constructed
Probably
masonry
the same dude.
should withstand minor impacts. At a shipping container facility, a worker, distracted by his phone, was walking in front of the stationary container when a semi-truck slowly reversed to position for loading operations. The distracted worker was completely unaware of the approaching vehicle and was run over by the reversing truck. The driver only stopped after the worker's entire body had been crushed beneath the wheels. This incident clearly demonstrates the deadly combination of distracted walking, inadequate visibility during backing operations, and insufficient traffic control in logistics facilities. Mobile phone use while walking in active vehicle areas eliminates situational awareness, making workers oblivious to approaching hazards, including reversing trucks with massive blind spots. At a metal recycling facility, 2 workers were guiding an overhead crane transporting multiple tons of scrap metal sheets when the crane's mechanical components catastrophically failed. The entire crane assembly fell from the ceiling, crashing to the floor below with the massive load. Fortunately, both workers recognized the failure and evacuated the impact zone before being crushed. This incident clearly demonstrates catastrophic equipment failure and the critical importance of maintaining cranes, adhering to load limits, and ensuring worker positioning outside drop zones. Load capacity must never be exceeded. Operators must consult load charts and verify actual weights before lifting. Scrap metal loads are difficult to estimate and often exceed expectations, requiring weighing or conservative capacity assumptions. In a trucking company parking lot, a runaway semi-truck with failed parking brakes was rolling toward another parked truck. A driver attempted to stop the rolling vehicle by positioning himself between the moving truck's front bumper and the stationary truck it was approaching. He was crushed and pinned between both vehicles as the runaway truck made impact. This incident clearly demonstrates the fatal mistake of attempting to physically stop or redirect moving vehicles and the consequences of parking brake failures. Even slow-moving vehicles generate unstoppable momentum and crushing forces. The only safe response to runaway vehicles is immediate evacuation. In a towel manufacturing facility during normal operations, a board worker wrapped raw towel material around his neck like a scarf while loading it into a rolling machine. He failed to remove the material quickly enough, and the machine grabbed the fabric and pulled him upward by the neck, essentially hanging him. This incident clearly demonstrates the absolutely fatal consequences of horseplay around industrial machinery and catastrophic lapses in judgment regarding entanglement hazards. Boredom, complacency, or joking around with machinery creates fatal scenarios where momentary poor decisions result in deadly consequences. Outside a construction materials shop, a crane was loading metal sheets into a truck bed, where two workers were positioned on standby. The sheets were placed inadequately when a sudden gust of wind caught the large flat materials, causing them to swing violently toward the workers and strike one of them. This incident clearly demonstrates the extreme wind hazards when handling large flat materials and the critical importance of exclusion zones during crane operations. Lightweight sheet materials, including metal panels, plywood, drywall, and similar items, have high surface areas, making them extremely susceptible to wind forces that overpower crane control. At an excavation site, a crane operator attempted to lift an upright and overturned fuel tanker, when the tanker's weight far exceeded the crane's lifting capacity. The crane became critically overloaded and tipped backward, with the extreme mechanical stress causing the crane's engine and hydraulic systems to combust from the forces involved. This incident clearly demonstrates catastrophic failure in lift planning and the consequences of massively exceeding equipment capacity during recovery operations. All crane lifts require detailed planning with accurate load weight determination before attempting lifts. Fuel tankers can weigh 20 to 40 plus tons when loaded, requiring specialized heavy lift equipment.